Welcome to Breaking Bias and how we'll be looking at artificial intelligence and how we can avoid baked-in bias. As an AI enthusiast, I talk about AI a lot. But I found when I do, I usually get two sorts of reactions. The first is pretty suspicious. And it's usually from those thinking that AI is a slightly misleading buzzword, being slightly overused at the moment, being applied to anything from chatbots through to spam filters. And the other is abject horror that we're building Skynet and we're going to cause the next Judgment Day. Now, even though there is a little bit of a difference between spam bots and Skynet, they do actually share some very common ground, and that's around the mental model that comes to mind when we start talking about AI. And that is something intelligent, machine-like, utilitarian, unbiased. So when we start talking about AI in the world today, we slightly expect it to match that mental model that we all have. But something weird's happening, as that doesn't seem to be the case. Recently, David Heinemeier Hansson tweeted about the AI algorithm that's been used by Apple Card to determine who gets what rate. To quote David, "The Apple Card is such a sexist program. My wife and I have filed joint tax returns, live in a community property state, and have been married a long time. Yet Apple's black box algorithm thinks I deserve 20 times the credit limit she does." Now, AI and bias are quite tricky things to mesh together in our heads, partly because bias is a very human term and can be formed through a lot of different things, from social groups, educational backgrounds, class, race, gender, sexuality, musical tastes, geography, fashion, sport, politics. They all play their part in grouping us into tribes and creating a bias, whether that's conscious or unconscious. So the first thing we have to do is break that mental model of AI being unbiased, and we have to rebuild it into something a lot more realistic. In his article, Notes on AI Bias, Benedict Evans suggests we think of AI in practical everyday terms, so less robots and more like washing machines. They're tools that have been built in a specific way to do a very specific task. A washing machine has been built to wash your clothes. If you put your dirty dishes in there, it would wash them, but it would also smash them to pieces. Now, the washing machine isn't consciously biased against those dishes. It was just never designed with dishes in mind. So instead of Terminators, let's think washing machines instead. And instead of AI, let's use the much more realistic term of machine learning. Now, stick with me, because in the next part, we'll look at how we train those AI systems and how bias can start to sneak in.